Well, here we are about to finish a job that I started yesterday. My clutch started slipping, so I had to get a new one. So this is my first time installing a clutch by myself. I remember back in the, the early 90s, whenever I had an issue with my bike, I'd take it to my dad, and I thought he'd fix it, but that guy took it to the mechanic. So this is my first little, I can't help my dad, I can't get my dad to come do this for me, so I had to figure out how to do it myself. And yeah, you can find YouTube videos that help with this kind of stuff, but that's on common models like KTM, Yamaha. This is a SHERCO, so to get specific numbers and the specific procedures, you got to read the manual. I only have the owner's manual, and it's an online thing, but I kind of figured out that the specs are pretty much the same across. From like, the older models to the newer models. And I looked it up, and it looks like it's 10 Newton meters for the torque spec on my clutch cover, which is this thing I'm taking off, and my clutch basket. So I already took out the clutch plates. They were all in here, loaded up. I just took off these 6 screws which hold on the pressure plate. So that pops off, and I throw on my new discs. So 5mm. I'm just using this impact as a nut runner, because it's a lot of hand cranking if I use a ratchet. Bolt runner, not nut runner. So the spec for these bolts with the screw is 10 Newton meters. I think I said that already, and it's the same thing for the clutch cover. Okay, now make sure none of that shit falls out and it doesn't fall into the machine. Here we are, pressure plate out. Put this over here. Give that thing a wipe before I put it back in. Okay, here we go. So the first one is a fiber, and then you alternate your fibers and your steels. So there's one fiber. There's one steel. There's one fiber. So I'm looking for the label, just so they're all facing the right way. Metal. So these clutches were soaked overnight, and the engine oil, gear oil I use for this. So I do this the whole time, and then I tighten everything back up. So right now, I'll just do this and I'll turn off the video. Okay, so we're gonna toss back on our pressure plate and our springs. Uh-oh. Something off here in the middle. There we go. Center that up. That's where our needle bearing goes. Beautiful. So now you push the springs in a little bit. Oh shit, there's mud or dirt on there. Okay, pull this out, clean it out. I better take a peek, see if there's any dirt that fell in there. I didn't realize there'd be some mud on my bit. Okay, so I had to clean that all off because I did drop a piece of dirt that fell in here and it went down into the basket. Pull it out. Got to make sure this is as clean as possible. Now I use this as a bolt run, nut runner again. Just like a putting on a tire, crisscross pattern. I started these bolts off by hand because everything is aluminum, except the springs. Okay, now we torque them down. 9.6 plus 4, that equals 10 Newton meters. One. Two. Three. Four. Five. And 6. We're properly torqued. Same thing with this clutch cover. We have to put it on 10 Newton meters, which is like 88 inch-pounds or something like that. Whatever that means, it's way less than you think it would be. And again, you can't mess around because it's all aluminum stuff. And this machine is French, so these parts, like that clutch pack that I put in, that came all the way from France. Well, it did come from France by way of Kinmount, Ontario. There's a dealer down there that I just got a hold of. Shout out to Handy Andy Racing down in Kinmount, Ontario. He's a dealer for Beta and SHERCO. So we got to get this puppy on nice and even. Same thing, crisscross pattern. And make sure the right screws go in the right spot. So you got to make sure that O-ring on the back side is nice and oily. You gotta snug this boy down. Start it off by hand because it's aluminum. Well, you should start everything off by hand to make sure you're not going to cross thread anything, unless you want to use cross thread as nature's Loctite. Okay, now we use our handy dandy T-handle. Now we torque it down 10 newton meters again. One, two, three, there we go. We're torqued up. New clutch pack. The only thing now is we have to fill it up with oil, and I guess I'll do a video on an oil change a different time, but I'm gonna put everything together and we're gonna go ripping. Well, I guess I might as well make this almost like an oil change thing too. This is your oil level screw. It has a washer on it, copper washer. Oops, that copper washer, it's still good for a bit. You know, can't change washers, you know, every oil change. We're not rich. Okay, so that's your oil level checker. And of course you put your oil in next to this port here. The oil filler dealie next to the expansion pipe. Make sure you don't get any crud in the engine. That's nice and clean. Yeah, that's clean. Then we throw in our oil. This is Model 300V. The coolest thing about this oil is the green. I think that's why you have to pay so much for it, is because they put dye in it. And we take just shy of a liter with this thing. That little pouring spout makes it really easy. But again, you pay so much for this oil, it should work well. So you might wonder, how come you're changing a clutch on a bike that only has like 25 hours on it? It's because this bike used to be a demo. The dealership I bought it from, they had a couple demos for sale, and I wanted a 300 two-stroke just for that low-end grunt, but I ended up with the 250 because the price was right. So I saved myself like, I think $3,000 to $4,000 by buying the demo bike because it had a few hours on it. And being a demo bike, you know, people are taking it out and abusing the hell out of it. So it's gonna have some premature wear on it. If I do start shredding clutches up, what I'm gonna do is probably switch to maybe a Recluse or something a little bit stronger. But I shouldn't. There she is. See how it's starting to pour out right there? That means we're full. Oops. Ah! Maybe let a little bit of that leak out. Just so we're not over full. Okay, you start off with your hands. Just stunk that up. That's another thing, that's aluminum you don't want to strip. My cap. Make sure the O-ring's good. Perfect. So next, oil cap. Then I'll get the skid plate on, and then we'll take her for a ride and see what's going on. So the main thing that was happening with this clutch is that high RPM, it was slipping. So I'd be giving it lots of gas, and the rear wheel wasn't spinning, wasn't catching anything. So we'll see if we fix our problem.